I'm only having 2 kids. Will is gone. No, he was. Yeah, we just texted the team. It's always fun. The kid called me. His mom.
Yeah. It's my baby.
Oh, you weren't. Oh, yeah, you weren't. Football signings. Signing day. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool how many of his teammates, all their teammates were up there supporting them.
Oh, they, most of them usually are all there, all the especially the seniors.
Yeah, kind of cool.
But I guess it just depends on class they're in and they're able to get out of class.
It was after.
Oh, was it after school?
How are you? Yeah, because my seniors hated the golf meeting and said, Coach, we already know everything. And I said, you pretty much do. If you got your tryout pass, see you this Wednesday. And they told me why they were going to go. Yes, these new kids.
Yeah.
2.5. Girls hard to catch a half.
Yeah. He's like a 1.5.
I call him IHOP. Have you ever worked for IHOP? Because the guy that writes for the football weekly thing on Facebook, whatever. There's a statistic for pancake blocks.
Oh, well, yeah.
And he says, well, I just call him IHOP, so I can call him IHOP.
Oh, that's funny. Tim?
I think it is.
Yeah, that's how I take pictures for him.
Right. I don't know where. Hmm? Yep, gone. Good job. Oh, it is? Okay, good. Well, then that means you probably have to travel to wherever.
Because he was off last week, I heard he said he's starting work again this week. Yesterday's the first day.
You walked down to the clubhouse, which is kind of far. Even I didn't walk because I hate cold weather. I started out, I was going to walk, and I'm like, I hate this cold, I'm driving. But I drove past him on the way home, and I'm like, he's probably just getting the exercise. But then I got thinking, you might have turned this crazy car. Terry might have the other car. But
I have caught him running on the road.
caught him.
Well, he was very brave because he was coming down the hill approaching the bridge.
Oh.
He said he was picking up his car first on. I didn't realize what it was until after, and I'm like, that is like.
So he knows firsthand how dangerous. I mean, we need that darn.
And then I saw his face in my mirror, and I was like, oh, this morning. No, I was on the other side of the road, but there was a car coming, and I was like, whoever that is, please don't hit him. So I sat there for a little bit and watched that.
Did you see Chris's email there? What
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what expected it actually.
Are you going to need to package not up here, right? I don't have a packet up there.
Oh,
I
thanks.
just want to put loose.
Get myself set up on.
Given the things to do.
And on the,
Yeah.
I have a keyboard for my iPad, but it's not put up visual keys.
I don't use it that
my
often.
cat has taken 3 or 4 keys off my laptop, and I don't know where they are.
I don't use it often, but it's kind of handy. But I don't.
I need to invest in a laptop, and I'm just procrastinating. I'm so
Mine is too, and the hardest one I hate is just getting everything ready for transfer.
Do you do personal business property taxes for the county?
personal business.
Yeah, if you, I don't know if you're set up in such a way that you have to do property taxes on your, oh, I am. Only business asset I have is the laptop that I bought 6 years ago. 5 years ago at $1,000. Because it's such a little pain to like fix this thing, like depreciate it or whatever. I just need it. It's $10 a year. I can have my $10. I don't care.
Well, I think,
I don't have.
well, that's all that's on Texas, I do count things I buy like that, as deductions when I.
You can do those for deductions, but it's an asset owned by the business.
So then you appreciate it.
Well, or cash it out. I don't know why. I probably should just depreciate it because it's like worthless. Not worthless, because it is. So when I buy a computer, I buy close to the top of the line or a high-powered one, and then I add whatever memory and hard drive I need so that it will last. It's, even though it's 5 years old, it's still like does everything I need. I'm in a very long to keep it.
The desktop is 3 years old now. Issues like this.
What kind of issue?
Just weird stuff. It is like, the pulsing of the mass, it's like it's in one letter every second.
What?
I can type and it just takes it forever to actually come on the screen while I type. It's like, I mean, I sit there waiting for it to come in. So yeah. And then, sometimes it won't, if I try to open a page from a page, you know, like a link or something, it won't do that, or it takes a long time. So,
You might be able to upgrade it with memory, take care of that. Sounds like it's full. Not hard drive space, but memory.
Like operating.
well, how do I take that? Take my system and put it operating. See what's there.
Yeah. I would describe it like a hard drive is like your file cabinet. Your memory is like your desktop. You have a small amount of memory, you only have a couple things open on your desk, but you can have a ton of stuff in your file cabinet. So I buy big memory.
Okay, I'm gonna sit down.
That big, but I like talking with my hands.
Okay, so just let me sit down, so I don't get sick.
John, nice of you to show up. Yeah. Now we get the ball rolling.
Sammy was gonna whack me, I saw that.
You know what top you want?
Where is it? No, we don't, I don't have the right lights.
Kind of business.
Marcia, you got a tough crowd in front of you tonight.
Uh-oh.
All of y'all.
Why are you saying that?
Warning them. And why it's not here to protect you.
You are terrible.
The worst.
The worst.
Well, at least he's honest. Oh, sorry. I forgot to tell you. I tried to talk to her, but no test. Oh,
Clean it, is that what you said?
Yeah.
why I always use the gavel to open it
It's
up?
got chocolate.
It's right there.
Do I have to?
Come
I
on,
really don't want
get it. Just get it, it's right there.
to. All right, I'd like to welcome you all to the February 11th meeting of the Stallings Town Council. I'm a little slow. Welcome aboard. Invocation by Debbie. Debbie, you're doing it.
Okay. I didn't get that, but that's okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings that we have been gifted with. Thank you for the privilege to be here tonight and serve our town. Please give us wisdom as we make decisions. Be with our law enforcement and our military, Lord. Keep them safe as they also serve our community and are willing to give their lives for us. Thank you for the building being down next door, how exciting that is. And just guide us tonight. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we have public comments, and we have one speaker tonight. Come on up, Mr. Bush. Name, address, and 3 minutes.
All right. Hello, council members. My name is Dave Bush. I'm at 1212 St. John's over in the Chestnut Oaks area. And I'm here on behalf of myself and the Homeowners Association. I'd like to find a point of contact or someone to work out some issues with the God Bless America contract. Their trucks are causing damage to our alleyways, and we're having to repair those year after year because they've gone to a larger truck. And I'd like to just see if I can get someone as a point of contact to discuss. Maybe we can make some changes or additions to that. And thank you for the invocation. I'm a recently retired military member. That was very awesome. Thank you very much.
Alex, would you?
Yes, sir. Let me go grab his car. I'll be right back.
Hey.
Is our town manager, Alex?
Awesome.
And thank you for your service.
You can't.
Yes, thank you so much.
How long have you been in Stallings?
Moved here in 13, so
Good.
been about 5 years.
We usually run a little more serious than meetings, but the mayor's gone, so.
Hey,
Yeah.
I don't blame you one bit. But, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. Still, say the pledge allegiance.
It's not like
Good
I'm a
invocation.
kid.
That's honor to me, so I appreciate that. So,
Well, while he's getting his card, what do you like about Stallings?
well, the small town atmosphere is pretty nice. We've always liked that here. When we first got here, it was definitely a lot smaller than it is now. A lot of traffic going on these days.
Yes.
So can I contact you about this
Absolutely.
then, and we'll work something out?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Pleasure.
nice to meet you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you. Would that be it, Aaron?
Yes, sir.
All right, public comments done. Consent agenda is up. Anybody, any questions or comments about consent agenda? All right, anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll
We all crazy
I'll
now.
second.
All in favor? All right, reports from, I'll go last, or second to last. Council members, let's see, left or right?
Okay. I do have a few things I want to share this evening. I mentioned to some of you that Mayor Bailey, Mayor Matthews had requested a meeting with some of our staff and the corporate delegates to discuss the Old Monroe widening project, and they have requested to delay their section of the Old Monroe widening because they have a number of smaller projects where they're planning to kind of reroute drivers away from their downtown, thinking that that will reduce a lot of the traffic through town, and they want that to be done before they have the widening take place, if it takes place at all. He did suggest that we have a follow-up meeting that would include Indian Trails. They're also a part of that, but we have not set that up yet. And I will see Mayor Bailey at Clarkdale on Wednesday evening, so I'll probably have that set up so we can move ahead with that. Also, just a reminder that Lynn will be making a presentation to the Metropolitan Transit Commission on February the 27th, and that's when our resolution will be presented as well. And that evening, MTC will be updating the locally preferred alternative for the Silver Line, and we're hopeful that that update will include extending it into the town sounds. It's interesting, all of a sudden, there are just transportation summits everywhere. There was one in Raleigh a few weeks ago that I really wanted to go to, but it must have been such a popular event that the registration closed before I could get registered. I didn't delay too much, but anyway, I didn't get to go to that one, but everybody said it was awesome. I have been invited to attend one that the South Charlotte Regional Partners are putting on March the 25th, and that one actually includes some people from York County, South Carolina, so it's more of a regional focus than we've had before. There's also one for Union County Transportation, summit at SPCC on February the 18th. And then the CARPCO board is planning a retreat sometime the end of March or the 1st of April. And the North Carolina Association of NPOs is having a conference in Charlotte at the Convention Center, April the 24th through the 26th. And registration for that is $275 if you do it before February the 28th, and after that it goes to $325. So if any of you are interested in going to any of those, you might want to remember those dates. And the last thing I wanted to mention, you know, Indian Trail has kind of organized and facilitated some meetings to discuss things for the western part of the county. And last week, Stony Russian had requested a meeting with some of that group. And so I got a call from Jerry Morrison, did go to the meeting. And what he was discussing are some ideas he has about delaying some of the CIP projects that would provide water and sewer upgrades to serve the western part of Union County, in Stallings and Indian Trail. It concerned me a little bit because we've got the hospital coming, we will be needing water and sewer, and we've got all these small area plans and some things coming on board related to that. So I'm not sure it would be in our best interest to have those projects delayed. And of course, his goal is to speed up the provision of water and sewer to the eastern part of the county. And I understand that there's need for that, and some of those areas out there do have arsenic in the water, which is a concern. But he suggested we might want to send a rep to the retreat that the Union County Commissioners are having sometime the end of this month. I don't think the date has been set, but when I find out when that is, somebody on this board might like to go. And that's something I would do.
I'll be brief. Just to follow up on what Linda said, Indian Trail has been pushing pretty regularly for the town of Stallings to partner on multiple things. One of the things is the Olden Row. They kind of believe that it would be best to decouple from the Matthews side of things, and I think there may be some support for that. So I'm going to continue those discussions with them, and then maybe bring something formally back to the council to see whether or not we have support for the resolution now. Mayor Pro Tem Scholl and I attended a Union County Chamber of Commerce event where we met with several of the elected officials from around the county, including some of the board commissioners. Also met the new county manager, great individual, had probably a 20-minute conversation with him, talked about the reorg they just went through and his plans for what he wants to have in the county. We also touched briefly on the fire service, which will be a hot topic part of the time going forward. So.
I thought we were kind of working with them. I thought that was the whole point of the meetings that we've had in the past, so.
I think they wanted to shake things up a little bit, because in the past, we talked about the 3 towns working together.
Matthews, Indian Trail, and Stallings.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Matthews kind of wants to protect their interests
Right.
first and foremost.
Right.
And so we need to look at what's best for Stallings and Indian Trail.
Okay.
Stallings.
Correct, but if we can partner with them and be more effective and have more influence, then that's
If
very
there's
profitable.
Some shared,
Yes,
goals there.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm sorry.
If I could just comment one thing. I don't think anything that's happening with Matthews with regard to Old Monroe Road is in any way detrimental to us. And Mayor Bailey is actually the vice chair of the CARPCO board, so I don't know what you mean by decoupling, but I think any partnerships we have, we want to keep that line of communication with Matthews and I think it would hurt us in the long run to do anything that would jeopardize the good working relationship we have now with Matthews.
I think the key there is going to be getting the three town leaderships together. You know, whether it's a joint council from each town or to have that conversation, which, you know, we've not had any conversation with Matthews. I'm thankful that you've been able to do that. But I think it needs to be whole group from each town as much as possible, so that we can hear what they're saying and then we can communicate with them what we thought. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to Alex and Erin for all the planning that took place to get our retreat on schedule and successful from last Saturday. It was a great time for us to have conversation about what our goals are for this coming year. And it's kind of funny that many and most of our goals are the same as last year. I mean, we've made so much progress, and yet we want to stay on it and continue to bring those to fruition. So, of course, the first thing is right next door, and that is so exciting. I'm thrilled that we're finally seeing the progress there, and you know, there's an end in sight. So, thank you guys for all you did. It was great.
Ditto what everybody else said. And Councilwoman Paxton, would you send us the links for those meetings that you mentioned for the transportation? Thank you. And then I just wanted to give our town a big attaboy, pat on the back. End of January, one of the news stations shared a report by the National Council for Home Safety and Security that shows that Stallings is in the top 10 safest towns in our state. So I just, that just goes for, you know, the leadership in this building, whether it's this board, staff, and then of course our awesome police department. So just congratulations to us and our police department.
A couple things for me. I attended Union County Groundhog. It was I don't know what number annual it was. The Groundhog Day Economic Summit that the Monroe Union County Economic Development Commission puts on down at this one was at the Armory in Monroe. What an outstanding group of speakers they had lined up for us that day. And the statistics of what we're doing that most of us, we might know about, but the public doesn't know how much this county does provide manufacturing and business-wise and what's coming. So I'll urge the next time this happens, I hope I'm not the only one there. It's got to work in your schedules, but if it fits, highly recommend doing that one. The Chamber of Commerce, as John mentioned, the elected officials reception is one of those events that I love to go to when I was on school board, and I go now every year if I can. It's a very casual event. Nobody's on the spot. You get to meet and greet whoever, or you want to specifically ask some questions of your colleagues in other towns, or talk to Dean or Craig or the other guy, the legislators, or whatever. It's just a really good casual opportunity to do so. We had, as John mentioned, a really good conversation with Mark. His name's Wallace, right? W. Watson. I always remember. It's for W. I might get there eventually, but it seems like he's going to be a really good manager of a style that I think the county will appreciate. Anyhow, moving on from that, I got a COG meeting on Wednesday evening this week, and I want to remind you all that we have an upcoming meeting with the Union County legislators instead of us going to Raleigh. What is that date? Friday?
22nd.
I was trying to look it up.
At 10 a.m.
Friday, 2/22, 10 a.m., probably in this room, right? Well, in the building, we'll figure it out. Four of them probably are coming, plus as many of us, but they're coming to listen to us. So let's give them something good to listen to, and show them our small area plans, and show them our vision, and talk to them about the hotel tax and transportation and whatever else is on our minds. So that'll do it from my report. Now, town manager and departments.
Great, thank you, sir. Got a couple of reports other than my own that are submitted in the packet. Unfortunately, Chief Plower is sick, so he won't be able to join us this evening. If you would like, he'd be happy to chat with y'all about the report during our next meeting, or just submit it for your consideration today. Is there a preference? Okay. And then the next report is Lynn, but let me talk about a couple things before we go into that. No surprises. That's what we talked about. Surprises are for engagements, not town council meetings. But there are 3 things I wanted to bring up and chat with you guys about. The first was kind of designed for town hall renovations. My understanding was that when the town was considering kind of what to do, what to build next door, went through a variety of different iterations and ultimately decided on the concept next door, along with a package deal of what you were with kind of doing some renovations over here and kind of looking at doing some things with the building. And as a result, that's reflected on the CMIIP, which calls for renovations to be done in here in our current town hall during the next fiscal year, so fiscal year 1920. And in order to accomplish that timeline, we need to start kind of programming and design as soon as possible. And so we wanted to get kind of your direction and guidance on that. If that's something that you would be open to doing, then what I would do is kind of look, get all the information together and kind of bring it to you for a formal approval. So curious to know y'all's perspective on that situation.
It makes sense that way there's no delay. Once that building's completed, we're over there, there's no need for us to delay what's going on.
I'm sorry, Shauna, what did you say?
I'm in favor of it because once we get that building complete, there's no need to delay what needs to happen over here.
Absolutely. I agree.
Consensus.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback.
We don't want to delay that anymore. So,
Their space back.
absolutely. So I think that is very wise, and working on it now will mean that you guys will be ready to go when that's done.
Appreciate the feedback. Thank you. The second thing I wanted to chat about is RFQ for Greenway Engineering. Funding for engineering for this portion is already approved. However, the plan hasn't been approved by council yet. One option would be to go ahead and issue an RFQ and go ahead and go through the process of selecting an engineering firm. I don't think there would be anything that would change as far as what you would be looking for as far as the criteria for selecting an engineering firm. The advantage of if and when you get to the point of that finalized payment plan, you'd have a firm that was already selected and ready to go. So the advantage of that is speed. Or you could what? Be curious to hear your perspective.
I think that is also a good idea. I don't think that the Greenway plan is something, if we approve it, I think it's just a matter of digesting all of the information that was in that packet so that we can approve it. We have a little better understanding of it, and I think that this will just move that process, not the approval, but it'll just move the implementation a little quicker. That's my understanding.
Is there any cost involved in putting out the RFQ?
No cost as far as kind of writing the check. It'd just be staff time.
And do we have any idea of what the range of cost might be for that engineering?
It'd most likely be around the amount that we budgeted. Forgive me, I can't remember. I want to say that was something maybe 60,000. Lynn or Ashley, can you remember the amount?
63.
63.
60.
I know the mayor had expressed some concern over us continuing to spend on these plans and engineering. I believe, with the Greenway plan and some of these plans in particular, where we do the engineering, we're not eligible for some of these grants. So it's not really a cost avoidance, it's just one of those things.
Do it now or later.
Yeah.
And not to mention, as small agreements, small development agreements come down the pipeline, this could be a negotiating tool. If the Greenway is in that particular proposed development.
Yeah. I don't want to be in a position to the cart before the horse, but use my Kansas vernacular. But I think it's prudent of us to go ahead and put the ball rolling.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
I really don't support a lot of spending on greenways, so I'm gonna say no.
I'm using yes. But, yeah. It's not a formal vote, it's consensus, but do we need a vote in this case since it's not unanimous?
It's just
Yeah, it's not something that really,
I mean, it's
I
not
think it's either
unanimous.
way, honestly. I mean, I'm good either way. I feel like I've got that direction, so.
Okay.
And I want to say thank you for the feedback, everybody's feedback, especially your feedback. I feel very fortunate to get to work in an environment where we can share our opinions and there's no animosity, so thank you. And the last thing I wanted to bring to your attention, just an observation. Because during my interview process, one of the conversations that we had, I think something that came up at our Saturday retreat was kind of how to empower and engage our committees. And just had an observation and wanted to get your perspective on this. You know, I noticed that committees, applications go directly to the council. You know, one option as an alternative would be to have the committee applications go to the committees first for them to weigh in an advisory capacity before going to the town council. You know, is that a way that, is that a silver bullet for committee engagement? No, of course not. We talked about a lot of really great ideas on Saturday of ways to further engage those committees. But just an observation, I'd be curious to know what y'all's thoughts were on doing something along those lines.
Alex and I talked about this earlier this afternoon. One of the few things we talked about, I called to check on him because normally he's calling me at lunchtime and I didn't hear from him. It was after 3. And I'm like, are you okay? Because I haven't heard from you. So I even called Aaron to see if he was sick, so I didn't want to bother him if he was sick. But I think this is a wise move. I think it's going to give your committee a feeling of empowerment, even though they don't make the final decision. And I think it communicates to them that their opinion is important to us. I related the connection that I have as a teacher that many times when you have a teacher leave a grade level and a new teacher is hired from outside, our grade level doesn't have that option to sit down with a new person. And that is a vital relationship. If you can't work together, it's a miserable year. And we've had great success without doing that, but I've heard that there are lots of schools that do that. And so I just think that is kind of a way to give that opportunity to those committees to voice their opinion. So that's what I thought.
My thought on this issue is that if a committee says no to somebody, and the council says yes to that person, and the person goes back and like, you didn't vote for me, you didn't vote for me, and now they have to work with them, I think that puts everyone in an awkward position on that committee. If we had the wisdom or the foresight or whatever to see whatever it is, maybe it's a personality conflict, I don't know. But if we think it'd be a good asset for the committee, I don't want to put the committee in the position of a new person or any old people of potentially having that clash. I think there's other ways of committee engagement that we could look at that would get them engaged, but I'm not sure I know, I'm not sure. I do not like this idea. Letting them choose who's going to be on the committee. I don't want it to be a clique. And we may want to have a variety of people on that committee.
I don't think that, just as a comment back, I don't think that it is a matter of them picking or choosing. I think it's just giving the information to them ahead of time. Hey, this person has applied, we just kind of want you to know what, and maybe that's how it needs to be presented, that here, this person sent an application in, we just want you to know who they are and what their background is, and, you know, that they have applied to the committee. I don't think giving them the picture of, hey, you get to decide whether, I don't think that's the purpose of it. I think it's just information to inform them. Hey, this person has applied, oh, it's a young one, yay, you have somebody with energy, or, okay, it's another retired person, they'll have lots of time on their hands, or whatever. I mean, I think that's more just the information, so that they're aware and they know this person before, know about this person, because nobody's gonna know that person until they get into that committee and really start interacting. So I think it's more just, hey, this person has applied, you know, here's the information about them, you know, so then when it comes to council, obviously, unless there's something seriously wrong, there's not going to be a reason we're going to reject them. And that way, when they walk into that meeting for the first time, there's a little more knowledge of who that person is. That's what I was thinking. Not that they are going to say, yeah, no, we don't want this person. That would never happen, but, you know, just more information.
Kind of did that with the last applicant we had for the transportation committee. When Helena O'Connor applied, she actually attended a meeting prior to getting reviewed and approved. I personally like, I think it's a good idea to allow the committee to meet that person, and for her to meet the committee, or for them to meet the committee. They may decide they don't want to actually work with the committee once they see how it works and such. So I understand your point, David. I mean, it could be awkward, but it's often awkward because we usually don't have but one person applying, and so it's not. I mean, sometimes who's applying might not be a good fit, and yet it puts council in a position of having to either take somebody that's not well qualified or to say no, and I don't know that I've ever known the council to say no to an applicant. So I think it might help us with the awkwardness of that situation.
But do we have qualifications to serve? We're not running into so many applicants that we can really be choosing. Maybe a particular committee might during a certain time, but overall, we've got openings. The county has openings. Everybody's got openings, and they're not getting people. I mean, it sends a message that you're not good enough or you're whatever. I just think that more than likely we will approve them. And having to go through another layer of we get approved at this level and then at our level is, if we had an overabundance of folks, I'd see let's screen them better. But at this stage, I want to make it, I want people to, somebody's complaining about something, then come on, step up and do your thing. Or has good ideas, or maybe a background, but I'm not sure we're in a position of voting twice to get somebody in here. So I think it sends a message that I don't think would bring them, would accomplish the goal that we're trying to engage them. Engage the citizens. Of course, it might engage that committee, but it's going to get people jumping up and down. Oh yeah, I want to go join this. But I have to go through all these screens. Someday, yes.
So, yeah, I guess like Debbie, I wasn't so much seeing it as a screening as much as just meeting.
Meeting.
It is.
Just meeting, because it might make, I think it would make the person going on that committee feel a little more comfortable. Okay, I've met these people before, rather than going in cold turkey. And it gives the committee members an opportunity to talk to them. I think that maybe could be a prerequisite or you make an application, go to one of the meetings and just, you know, get to know them or meet them, kind of thing. I think that was a great idea for the lady on transportation to attend that meeting and just
We
see.
actually kind of steered her away from Parks and Rec because she had applied for that, but she had transportation in her background.
And I think she was on our committee for a short while and then went to transportation. So, I don't know,
Well, instead of calling it like a screening or an
Right.
approval with the committee, just make it a requirement that when you submit an application prior to the application coming to council, that you have to go sit in on a meeting and introduce yourself and maybe interact on some kind of level with that committee. And then just note for the applicant to know that the application will not come before council until they do that. And just make it part of the process, not necessarily an approval process with the committees to have, but just make it part of the process. That way, no one's, you know, and maybe that person, like in Ms. Connor's case, you know, she did join the Park and Rec, but then she found out later she was better suited for transportation.
Right.
Nothing against Park and Rec, nothing against transportation, it's just that was, you know, I love stormwater. Come on, stormwater, we like stormwater people, you know, but it's not everybody's passion. So, you know,
Glad you can say career water people. So just taking a quick step back. So the goal here is to empower and engage our citizens and our committees. Is potentially putting forth these applicants to the committee for a recommendation, is that the ideal plan? It sounds like the council's saying maybe not, but I do think there's some value in at least communicating out. This person has applied. You know, please provide feedback if you want, not required. I'd also like the council to kind of have some additional thoughts on how we can further engage some of these passionate folks in our community. Because, you know, for example, today when we communicated out about the civic building, you know, immediate level, boom, we got comments right away on traffic. So how do we turn around and get those citizens with that passion back into the investing? So is this the cure-all to what you said, David? No, but it maybe it's a step. So, and I agree with your point about making it kind of a club, or I don't think we want to do that, but I do think it makes those folks feel part of something bigger than themselves, if we're at least giving them a heads up that we've got these folks interested.
I don't think any feedback should be given from that committee. I think it's just an opportunity to get to know the person who is going to potentially be on that committee. I don't think we're asking for a, thumbs up or thumbs down or sign raise, whatever. I think it's just, hey, we just want you to know, the background of this person, and hopefully, maybe we could ask them to attend one meeting just to see what we do. Not for us to screen them in any way, but just so they can see what we're doing and how our meetings are run, whatever it might be. Yeah. And we talked about that Saturday, that the academy is the perfect thing for us to potentially get citizens involved. So we already have kind of come up with a great idea to, Linda's idea to engage our community by giving them some information and teaching them about what goes on and how they can be involved. So that's my 2 cents.
What you need, Alex?
So, a lot of really great dialogue. So, I just kind of wrote down, it sounds like there's 3 options. The first one, just to kind of keep things as is. The second is to ask the committee for advisory opinion on applicants. And then the third option is just simply, as part of the application process, to ask the applicant to go and just kind of introduce themselves to the committee that they're applied to be on.
opportunity to get some opinion, but I
Okay.
think for now, I think that's a good idea.
I don't think we'd know that person well enough to offer an opinion. I don't, so I see no value in them, in us giving an opinion one way or the other, just an opportunity to meet the person prior to them coming on that committee.
So just maybe, I'm trying to think, how do we write this in the policy?
A meet and greet.
Just say as part of the application process, go to the committee meetings, just introduce yourself to the members, prior to ultimate confirmation.
Right.
Does that sound?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about that?
It's a compromise. And get some moves.
Yeah.
Thanks, David.
Well, I appreciate the dialogue. I'll put something on the consent agenda next time, and we'll kind of make that change. And again, appreciate the dialogue, and decided to turn it over to someone who's a lot smarter than I am in here, so it doesn't.
She's doing her committee.
Right. I just wanted to come before you all this evening and present you with an annual update on our comprehensive land use plan. It was in November of 2017 that we adopted that plan. So 2018 was the first year that that document was fully in effect. And just in an effort to be accountable to you all for the effort that we undertook in adopting that plan, I just wanted to share with you what we've accomplished. It's been a busy year. A lot of the things in this report you all are very familiar with, but all of them are really direct results of the comprehensive land use plan. So I'm just going to walk through this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I know we have other things to get to, and there's a lot of details in here which I provided for you. I thought you all may want to go back and look at that. But what have we accomplished? One of the main things we have done is we've adopted the small area plans that we did with the comprehensive land use plan. That was done in January, and then part of the budget cycle this year, we decided as a town to move forward with further small area planning, and we have adopted our plan for our Chestnut area. We finished our plan for Old Monroe. We're very near completion of the CEM plan. Those are all direct results of that comprehensive land use plan. Another thing, the Greenway plan. One of the major things that came out of that comprehensive land use planning process was the need for more connectivity, walkability, placemaking. The Greenway plan is something that came as a result of the comp plan as well. That's been a large undertaking. I think it has grown since we started that. We've added the parks element to it, and we are nearing completion on that. I think we're, as a town, going to see some great progress on that and excited about it. But again, that's something that you all, as elected officials, chose to pursue as a result of that comp plan. The development ordinance. When we started making all these changes to the comp plan, we adopted small area plans, we did realize that the development ordinance needed to be updated. We did that, but it was adopted in 2018. There's many goals in the comp plan that talk about the need for updating the development ordinance so that it would allow us to pursue mixed-use development. That's something, that's a tool we've never had before. It encouraged us to increase densities in certain areas, and these are all things that we've done through that development ordinance. And then a big part of that is our development agreement process. I'm just going to warn you, we're getting really busy. We've got 3 development agreements right now that have been submitted that we're just starting to work through. We've got Atrium coming, and then we have another development with Terwilliger Pappas they're going to be submitting in the next couple of weeks. So that process is something new to us. I think it's new to a lot of people. From what I understand, it's very different than what a lot of jurisdictions around us are doing. I think we're doing something really unique and different that's going to allow us to accomplish our goals. And that was something as well that was established in the comp plan. And then one other thing that we've done is in conjunction with the building next door is that downtown streetscape or town hall streetscape. There's many goals throughout the document that talk about how we want to set a goal and show developers in the development community how we want to build out going forward. And that was something we talked a lot about, that we need to start some projects, we need to set an example, we need to lead by example, we need to invest in ourselves. That's something that came up a lot. David, I don't know if you remember when we were going through that comp plan process, the small area plan process, and I think that the streetscape that we're looking to do here in front of Town Hall is a great example of that. So the goal is that I want to come to you guys annually and just kind of show you where we are with this plan. It was a big undertaking. We committed a lot financially, a lot of time to it, and I just want to be accountable to you all that we are pursuing the goals that you all set there. So I've shared, like I said, there's a lot of information in here. If you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know. I'd be glad to answer those. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is Pappas the Chestnut Memphis Way team? They did call, good.
Any other department reports?
I just want to commend Lynn. I think it's a sign of a great professional to want to be held accountable. And just so want to commend her for her efforts here, and not only implementing all these things, but also wanting to communicate, be held accountable.
We appreciate the update.
Yes, thank you. Great job.
Keep it in front of us so we know what we're doing. All right, next up, agenda approval, and I'd like to add, we all have an application for Parks and Rec in front of us. Add that to our, add that to item
It's on
second.
7. Flip it over, 7. It's there.
Oh, there's one already there that we're gonna add this next one. There's 2.
Oh, okay.
This is number 2,
Okay.
Parks and Rec. So add that one. And Alex would like to add a closed session to talk about the closed session stuff. That's the formal way of saying it. Attorney-client privilege for a closed session. We'll add that as number,
140, pursuant to 143, 318.11A3. Yes.
for that. Okay.
And what is that one gonna be?
Attorney
We'll make
client.
that 10A.
10A, okay. And can we just add a second applicant to 7?
Yes.
Do we have to do a 7A?
No, just make
And
2.
just amend that?
Yeah, just realize there's 2 of them to consider there, not one.
Okay. Right.
It's because we only got the one in our packet, and this one came today, finished its process today. Anything else to be changed, added, deleted? Good with the agenda as amended?
Delete also.
Oh, yeah.
Say that again, yeah.
Deleting
Number
item 9.
Kim isn't able to be with us this evening.
That's right, I forgot that. So deleting 9, adding an applicant, and adding a closed session. Anything else?
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the following changes: to add a second application under item number 7 for the Parks and Rec Committee, to delete item number 9, and to add 10A, a closed session for attorney-client privilege.
A second.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Item 4, annexation of the Thunderwork property. We need to open that now. We're going to open the public hearing. Okay. No information from staff, no comments, but the request was by the Thunderbird group.
The applicant, yes.
Applicant is they want us to recess this again until 3/25. And should this require a advertising again, they have agreed to pay for that if this is going too far out. But 3/25 is what they requested.
Yes, at the regular meeting, 7 p.m. start.
Yes. 3/25, 7 p.m. They're going to start. Okay. All right, council, how do you choose to move?
It's a request, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
They're just trying to coordinate with Matthews on some other issues, so that's why they're requesting this.
Need a motion?
Okay, I make a motion that we recess the annexation 51 Funderburk property until 3/25/19 at a regular meeting at 7 p.m.
All in favor? Okay, that item will be on that agenda at 3:25. All right. Do I need a motion to close the public hearing?
No, you just recessed it.
Or recess, or the public, you can have my note right there. We're going to recess the public hearing and move on to the next item. Item 5, that would be Lynn again. All right, we'll reopen the public hearing on this text amendment to Article 17, sign regulations, Section 17.6B, removing the second sentence in 17.5A, change snipe sign to read off-premises signs. Off-premise signs. Public hearing is now open. Information from staff is here.
Yes, this is a request for text amendment to Article 17 of the Development Ordinance, which addresses sign regulations. This first request under TX 180901 is twofold. The first portion of this is specifically addresses Article 17.5. It's a section of the sign ordinance that lists prohibited signs. Number A, or letter A under there, reads snipe signs. And directly under that in item B is a definition of snipe signs, so it's redundant. So we wanted to take that out, and what that needs to read is off-premise signs. And just so you know the difference, a snipe sign is something that may be stapled to a telephone pole or taped to a stop sign, or an off-premise sign is when a business may be advertising on property that they do not own. They may put a sign to half-price subs at the corner of Stevens Mill and Stallings Road. Those are off-premise signs. So we just need to add that in there so that we are able to address those. So that's the first request, is to remove snipe signs and add off-premise signs in its place. And then the second thing is that also under Article 17.6 that talks about exempt signs. In other words, signs that don't have to get a permit, aren't required to get a permit. Section B of that talks about government signs. The second sentence from that, we're asking that be removed. That particular language is making it difficult for us to advertise our special events. So we would just ask that language be removed so that the town can put up their signs for Stallings Fest or advertise for our open houses we do for the comp plan and the Greenway plan, that type of thing. So that's the request. The planning board did hear this at their last meeting on the 19th of January, and they recommended approval.
Any questions from the council? Pretty straightforward. Any motion?
Any public comments?
Already did.
I'll make the motion that we approve text 18.090.01.
Sean, seconded. All in favor? Unanimous?
Mr. Shaw, could you please then also close the public hearing?
That's
Just for the
next.
record.
That's next. All right, now we're going to close the public hearing and move on to item 6 on our agenda. Thank you. I thought you were here doing it. The whole thing?
Well, just the last paragraph.
Give me glasses.
Don't need it. All right. For this item, I'll read a statement of consistency and reasonableness. Stallings Town Council hereby finds that the proposed text amendment is consistent with the 2017 Stallings Comprehensive Land Use Plan adopted November 27, 2017, based on consistency with goals and objectives set forth in the document. At their February 11, 2019 meeting, the Stallings Town Council voted to recommend approval of the proposed text amendment and stated that the Town Council finds and determines that the text amendment is consistent with the key guiding principles, goals, and objectives of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan and hereby recommends its approval.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, now, moving on to item 6 on our agenda. Amendment to table 17.1, permanent sign standards and criteria to allow square footage of permanent wall signs to be calculated on wall area. I'll reopen the public hearing and hear information from staff.
Yes, this is also an amendment to Article 17 of our Development Ordinance sign regulations. The way the current ordinance was written, Table 17.1 lays out all allowed signage, whether it's a monument sign, whether it's a wall sign, a pole sign, and under wall signs, it states that any wall sign cannot be larger than 32 square feet in size. Typically, wall signs are on commercial buildings, multi-tenant buildings, or a doctor's office. We don't really see wall signs in residential districts that often. There are some uses like churches and things like that that may be in a residential district where you'd have a wall sign. We found that 32 square feet did not work on all commercial buildings because some commercial buildings are very large and 32 square feet look very small, and some buildings are very small and then that applicant may put that 32 square foot sign on it and there was no scale, and we realized that it just wasn't going to work. So the way we had done this in the past is we allowed commercial buildings to have 10 feet of wall area of any principal structure. They would take the area of that, and 10% of it, they could use that as their wall signage. So if it was 80 square feet, they could have an 80 square foot sign. However, it could never exceed 100 square feet. So even if it was a 200 square foot facade, it still couldn't exceed 100. And this is how we've traditionally done it, and it worked well. This allows grocery stores to have larger signs than a small convenience store. So we feel like the 10% is something that worked well for us. So we took this table, and we added the language there about 10% of wall area of any wall area of the principal structure, not to exceed 100 square feet in all other districts. We're going to leave the 32 square feet in residential districts. So basically, any commercial, industrial, mixed-use district will use the 10% rule. So that is what staff is requesting. Again, it's just this measuring technique will allow for signage on commercial buildings to be to scale. The planning board also reviewed this. They actually recommended that we make this change. We had a sign variance come before the board of adjustments for this very reason. So they asked us to go back, look at the ordinance, and make this change. So we did that. They recommended approval, and now we're bringing their recommendation to you.
John, you can say it again? All right. Any comments, discussion on council?
I think it makes sense. So I'm good with it.
All right, read this and then we vote on that.
Statute says you're supposed to do the reasonableness, statement of reasonableness and consistency first, but like, this one's okay, but how can you do that before you know?
You're gonna vote it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You've
And,
been doing a motion and then this statement after.
and looking at the agenda, should I read the actual whereas and the resolution?
Yeah.
This statement is probably covered, I think. All right, so we're gonna vote, then I'll read it, then we vote again.
Yes, because you have a motion to approve the statement of reasonableness.
All right, first motion,
Make a motion to approve TX 18.09.02.
John seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. The statement of consistency and reasonableness. The Stallings Town Council hereby finds that the proposed text amendment is consistent with the 2017 Stallings Comprehensive Land Use Plan adopted November 27, 2017, based on consistency with goals and objectives set forth in the document. At their February 11, 2019 meeting, the Stallings Town Council voted to recommend approval of the proposed text amendment and stated that the Town Council finds and determines that the text amendment is consistent with the key guiding principles, goals, and objectives of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan and hereby recommends its approval. Need a motion to approve that statement. Eddie? And Sean, second, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, I'll close the public hearing on this issue. And move to the next item on the agenda, Parks and Rec Committee applications. We have 2 applicants, one in our packet and one on your desk.
On the openings, do
Two.
Well, we have openings, because the Park and Rec, we did not put a limit, and that has been something that we've discussed more than once, right, Ashley? About how many, I mean, we kind of have an idea in mind, but we are losing George and Kathy, so it would be nice to have 2 additional before they leave us, just for them to share their experience.
Any comments, discussion on either applicant?
Comments on the applicants. I don't know either of these people. I don't, does the Parks and Rec director know either of these applicants?
I haven't seen the application.
So you don't even know who's applying. But my question is, what's happening to Kathy and George?
Sorry, say it again.
What's happening to Kathy and George?
They are not gonna be able to be on the board past probably summer. She'll be stepping down.
Does anybody know anything about either applicant?
Mr. Nolan is the applicant who I had a conversation with via Twitter. He wasn't happy that I blocked him because I don't communicate with anyone on Twitter.
And you probably didn't know you blocked him either.
I knew I blocked him, but I didn't know who he was or anything. I was in bed at 6 in the morning looking at, I got a Twitter request. Excuse me. I went on TV. Anyhow, have a conversation with him, went a lot better over the phone, understood my position, and wide open conversations over the phone in my official channels, but Twitter I wasn't, so we kind of conversed and talked. So I realized his passion was greenways, dogs, and music, and parks. Thought, the heck, see if he wants to put his energies into Parks and Rec position on the committee. And he said, sure, it's a good idea. Never really thought about that, so anyhow, see how, I still have not met him in person yet.
Kudos to you for doing some recruiting. I think we all need to do some of that.
Well,
We do have multiples when we're trying to
I
decide.
had an opportunity to talk to him and then realized passionate about a few things, and those passions maybe can help us, maybe, I don't know. So I haven't met him, but he applied, and I'm very pleased.
I'm thinking that Mary Ann is someone that Kathy recruited, because we have several from Curry Place on our Park and Rec, all that she has, everybody she's recruited. There's 1, 2, 3, this would be 4, this would be number 4. So she's done a great job, and a lot of them are retired, so they have time to devote to it and are willing to do whatever, so.
I think both candidates would add value, and I would support both of them being appointed. I would make this side note, it seems like a lot of our folks that are filling these roles are retired. And with Parks and Rec, there is a fairly active component, especially with kids. I would like to see some way for us to reach out to get, at least a voice from that demographic on, we have a partnership with Stallings Elementary, and I would be willing to bet that PTA could be of value to the Parks and Rec.
Did council eliminate the position of Parks and Rec?
No.
She's structured.
Ashley, you want, no, go ahead.
It's my understanding that Alyssa moved to Intro.
So she graduated And went to college.
About two.
Yes. And we thought her sister might be stepping in, but that hasn't worked. It's not that we don't want to have a youth position, we just haven't found the right person yet.
I don't believe they live in Stallings. They don't live in Fairfield anymore.
Correct. So, anyway,
Because I do think that's a valuable
absolutely,
position, is
absolutely.
to have a designated youth member of the committee. The other thing I would like to have us consider is, we did talk some years ago about having a park ambassador program, so if we could have multiple people in different ways they could participate in park events, that might be another way to get more people involved, but not have a committee so large that it doesn't function well as a committee. Just a thought there.
Alex, would it be possible for us to get an updated list of what positions we do have open?
Sure.
I apologize, I feel like I should know that, but,
That'll actually be coming to you soon anyway, because all of the reappointments will have to happen before the end of March.
okay.
So you'll be able to see what we do have open, spreadsheet on our grade two this year.
Thank you.
Just so you are aware, we only have 5 residents on Park and Rec. Am I saying that right, Kathy? Or Ashley?
Yes.
It's George and Bill, Tatcha, and then the 2 other ladies,
Yes.
Deborah, and,
And Donna.
okay. So we only have 5, so with George going off, this will put us at, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only 6 members, and then you have your council reps, which is me, and Kathy. So Kathy would go off, so whoever would step on would probably replace her. So I don't think it's too large of a committee.
She was saying it was too large.
No, I just wanted everybody to know how many were on it.
It's good. Well, I think when we were doing the committee, when I was restructuring last year, I was the one that was doing the committee on the committees. That was sort of the goal, was to have a committee, an advisory committee with, for lack of a better word, but I like yours much better, ambassadors. That would, you'd have 100 of them, but you really only need a working committee of 6 to 10 maybe, that would advise and help plan, but you need working bees.
And I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that 8 would be tops. Isn't that what we decided?
I believe that's what the committee decided. Yes.
Right. So we're not there yet.
And I'll reach out to the high school to see if we have any potential youth candidates.
Hey, would they get service hours?
Probably.
I believe Melissa did.
I would
Can they
certainly-
get paid for their service hours?
I don't
think the youth member would
that
got paid.
position gets paid.
Perfect. Then I think that's who qualifies volunteering for their community,
Agreed.
and they all need service.
Do we need to make the motion separate for them, or can we do them both at one time?
I think both at once.
Okay, everybody ready for a motion?
Yes.
Is that a yes, guys? Everybody? Okay. I'll make the motion to appoint Mary Ann Mercer as well as Aiden Nolan to the Park and Rec Committee with term ending March 31st, 2020.
I'll second.
All in favor? Yes. Marcia, you ready for the budget items?
I am. I
Good.
can walk.
Sitting too long.
I think so. My daughter's had me in a cycle class. Just like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm purple. Alrighty. The order of these is a little bit out of sync here because as I was sitting here looking at the budget amendment number 3, it actually is giving funds to the capital project. So I think it's important that we discussed last meeting that we had to put together the capital project fund for the new town hall and for the public works buildings. So in order to do that, we are gonna start a new project fund, or capital project fund. It'll be specific for this project. We will close it out once the project is over. So we will have 3 actually open for the town. The Stallings Municipal Park one is still open, which we were going to make some changes there. We hadn't done that. That was gonna be used really for Player Mill. If we did something with that, we were gonna use that fund. Then we also have the Potter Road Pleasant Plains one, which is open, and then we will have this one as well. And I did vet this through our auditor, and so which way she felt we needed to go with this, and she felt this was the cleanest way to keep the project costs all, in one place, and then close out the fund once the project was over. So this ordinance actually is, it creates the fund. It also gives a budget for that project that we have coming up. If you look at now section number 3, it's talking about all of the costs. I did explain that if you add the construction costs, contractor's allowance, and the owner's contingency, those all were based on the base bid, or on the bid that we got from Haas, and that equals the $3,126,000. And there's an additional $222,600, which is for the construction testing, some legal costs that we had to pay both for 2BB&T and using town attorney, the architect's fees, which will be paid for construction administration, the furniture allowance, which we discussed last meeting as well, and then miscellaneous. So that total project costs are expected to be $3,348,600. And the revenues to pay for that are explained in section 4, which are the installment financing proceeds of $2,918,000, general fund appropriation for that $222,600 of other costs, and then stormwater fund for the $208,000, which would represent the underground retention, water retention. And really what I am requesting is approval for this and to move forward to create the fund, since we were building.
So you want to go through these item by item, which you just did. So she's looking for a motion on this one item, which is item C on your,
Yes, it is C.
on your list.
Councilman Shaw, I'll make a motion to approve the capital project ordinance for the new town hall and public work facilities. I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Unanimous? All right.
The next one is actually a budget amendment, which is number 3. We had done 2 previous to this one, and what we're asking for in this really is to the financing piece of it. The debt service was actually already budgeted in the general fund for this year. So what we're doing now, since we've created that capital project fund, we are going to take out the debt service in the general fund and transfer that to that capital project fund, but we don't need the entire amount. So that's why I didn't move all of it. That first piece of it there under expenses, you can see that we're reducing the debt service interest on the note by $82,500. We're gonna put $31,500 in the contingency fund, and also, or contingency line item. And then, for the public works building itself, we're gonna, let's see, right here. Oh, public works building, yes. We're going to transfer that into the new town hall and public works building, $51,000, which will be needed for the capitalized interest for this year. If you look at the bottom part of that amendment, or that ordinance, it talks about, it's just really just transferring it in the general fund itself. It looks like a transfer, or transfer out in the upper part and a transfer into that fund on the bottom. So you see those. It's just really accounting ease. Any questions on this one?
So that's just 3, right? You said?
You ready?
So that's A.
Yeah. All right, look for a motion on item A, budget ordinance 3.
Mr.
Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the 2018-19 amended budget ordinance number 3. A second.
All in favor? Okay.
And we do have another one here for number 4. Number 4 actually is, it wants to, since we had some excess, that 31,500 that we put into the contingency from the prior one, I wanted to keep this separate rather than kind of make it all kind of combined together. I'm asking to move from the contingency fund $25,000. We had a list of items at the last meeting for repairs to this building, it was elevator repairs and a list of other items that were in public works that were one-time costs that we really don't think we're going to have room in the budget for after looking at it and projecting to the end of the year. That total was $25,000. So I'm asking to pull some of that contingency money from that and actually budget it to cover those costs within the Public Works Department, which we've already really expended.
Questions?
Are we concerned about tapping out and going over contingency before the end of the fiscal year?
No, the contingency, actually, I put 31,500 in and I'm using 25 here. It's really just shifting it. And there isn't, I believe there was, let's see, the total budget for contingency was 56,500 once we added that 31,500. And then it would reduce it to, it would still have 31,500 in it at the end there. So we're asking for 25 of that 56,500.
I'll make the motion to approve the 2018-19 amended budget ordinance 4.
Second, John. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, Marcia. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate all the
thank
hard
you.
work. Please
Thank you.
stay on top of us. All right, next up, Alex. Alex scorecard.
We got the budget.
What?
Item D.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Budget 2020. Okay. We had talked about these dates, and I'm kind of bringing it back up just to make sure that I know that council did review some things with the CMIP. And since that is something that we're looking at reviewing, and what I've actually done in the meantime too, Alex had asked me to put together a 5-year forecast to go along with that. Not necessarily go along with it, but to use as a tool to evaluate our upcoming capital projects by looking at a revenue and expense forecast and what we feel we can hold to reasonably and conservatively, and what we would have in excess revenues each year if in fact we made some assumptions. And I did build that. I don't have it here, but I think that's something at the CMIP review that would be something to go through. And then we look at if in fact in 3 years from now we want to spend $1 million on, or $500,000 on a new road or something, where would that money come from? Where would we go to see that? What did our fund balance go for? So this model's, it's actually kind of interesting because it does forecast out revenues, forecast expenses, shows our debt payments, and then shows you any excess that we have or deficits based on those revenue and expenses for the year. Then we look at CMIP and put that in there and say, okay, these are the projects we want to do. Where can we pull funds from? So it does give you that flexibility and shows you the unrestricted fund balance, what it's projected to be as well. So I think it'll be a good tool, but we do need to nail down these dates and get some time, to discuss these items and see what where the town's headed on some of these other projects. So I don't know if anyone said the CMIP review, March timeframe, 15th through the end of the month. I don't know if there's a date that council had come up with or thought about. And then the other review dates, I think those are probably reasonable in that they followed the format that we did in prior years, where we're meeting sometimes a little bit ahead of time. I think some of those meetings we would start at 6, just to try and get a little bit more time on the reviews.
Mr. Schultz, may I make a suggestion? March 25th is the work session. I know we did that a couple times with the budget process before, since everybody will be here. Possibly look at perhaps starting at 6. March 25th.
Let's do that. Everybody all right with that?
March 25th at 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna be okay with your,
No, no.
changes?
No, but I mean, I can't say yes or no just yet. If I have a match, no. If I don't, then practice or we'll be here. We'll be here as soon as possible. I don't want to delay the rest of council, so. Work. Okay, so we're good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Any
And the other meetings, I'm sorry, I've already pulled it down. And we can work on those times for the others as well. I mean, as we get closer to those dates. We have plenty of time. I just want to make sure that, looking at the budget, the draft, I guess the council will receive a soft and hard copy on the April 8th. So you would have like a week ahead of time to look through if there's, see if there are any things that stood out to you, and then go department by department. And I think that'll give us enough time. I mean, it's.
I'm sorry, the April 23rd date is during spring break,
Okay.
just FYI. I'm not going anywhere, but
And that's why I believe we had the regular council meeting on that Tuesday, because that would be Easter Monday. We do work on Easter Monday, town hall's closed on Good Friday, but just in the past, we've moved that meeting to the Tuesday because we work on Easter Monday.
and I'm okay with that. I don't know, is anybody else going to be gone that week?
potentially look at it?
Okay, I'm not.
All right, so we're good on that? All right. Okay. And if we're okay with these dates?
Okay.
Now we'll get to the balance program.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. So I'll be brief. I don't want to reiterate and take up your time. Everything that's in the memo. So basically the balance scorecard, the strategy map, you've got your vision, you've got your mission, and then the council sets its priorities. And you've got your core perspectives, remember, internal, external, money, people. And underneath each of those perspectives, there are objectives, which is essentially the strategies of how you want to achieve things, and then you create your measures based on those. So what we try to do in developing is to keep these categories not vague but broad, if that makes sense. So things that I think, whatever the priorities may be for the council in a given year, or things that are ongoing things that we want to work on, we can establish pretty much anything we can think of under these objectives. So for example, I think there's an invest in infrastructure objective. So you could include, like transportation component under that, as well as other things. So those are the objectives, as always, welcome any feedback or suggestions, or guidance that you all have for what you want to see from the objectives.
Any comments, discussion?
Well, to me, it's interesting that a lot of these things were our priorities for next year. I mean, for what the council saw as priorities, I mean, it's just, it's right in line with a majority of those.
The committee really tried to match, look at all council priorities and all the adopted plans and kind of match those up. So hopefully, and this is something, I think maybe we take a look at every year and make sure those objectives are correct. If you add something, maybe you change something. So it's really a living document.
Well, thanks for all the work you put into this, your staff put into this.
What does he need from us?
If you need anything more.
Yeah, just approval of the objectives, really. Everybody's comfortable with it. Thank you.
Ready for us to do it tonight?
Good, definitely. Ready to go.
You need a motion, or do you want just a consensus?
Either way is fine.
Formal, right? Who's up for it?
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the objectives, the balanced scorecard objectives.
Needs a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. Yes.
Just before we go into closed session, while I know we're live, I just wanted to give a public shout out to Ms. Hallie. We have had some IT issues while we've been speaking, and he's been working with me on my phone and computer to fix those, so.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Hallie.
Thank you.
Yay.
Who's watching?
Yes.
I need to read something to go into closed session.
If someone will make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-1183.
So moved. Thank you. Thank you. I was like,
Can we close the doors?
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Absolutely.
But that, we need to show the camera.
Yeah, I'll go.
She's gonna do it all.
Tell everyone watching, see you later.
All right, we're in closed session. Oh, in a moment.